Hey y'all, and welcome to another Wedding Wednesday. My name is Jane Corley with Pic Visions, Media Arts and Photography. If it's your first time here, welcome! Make sure to like this video if you learned something new, subscribe to my channel, and ring the bell so you can be notified every time a new video is uploaded every week. In today's video, we're going to learn all about the questions that you need to ask and things to be mindful of when you are looking for your wedding venue. Let's get started. First and foremost, you need to be mindful about having options. You and your fiance need to select a number of different locations. I would suggest at least 3 out of a master list of a bunch of other options you have for venues before you go out and look or before you start making phone calls. Next, make sure to have clarity when it comes to the cost. If you're getting married on a holiday weekend, if you're getting married at a very high season for that wedding venue, there may be additional costs, not necessarily at every venue, but just be mindful it is something that you need to ask. Next to note is going to be when you are getting married and what the weather and any sort of stipulations based on the time of the year that you are choosing to get married. So once you have your date and your guest count, you're now able to jump into actively looking and searching for venues. As we talked about in my last video with your guest count, when you're going and speaking to your venue, you need to overestimate. So if you're talking maybe 125 for your guest count, you need to be mindful and look for about 150, 130, 150 for your guest count at these wedding venues. You also need to have a selection of dates in mind. Now, if you know that you have a specific date in mind that you have to get married on, that's fine. This may help you decide from one venue to another based on whether they have those dates available. If you have many dates to choose from, then you have a little bit more flexibility when you're going to look at your wedding venue. The next item that you need to be mindful of when you're looking at your wedding venue is what sort of options does this venue provide? Is this venue a customizable venue where you can go in and make the adjustments and do whatever it is that you want to do to make your day that much more special within that venue? Or is that venue an all-inclusive venue? Do they provide the tables, the chairs, the decor, all of the services such as cutting the cake or even catering, bar services? You need to be mindful what is included within that venue. Now, our venue included tables and chairs, but that was it. Make sure that you are mindful of what that venue has to offer. Next is to search the grounds or search the available locations within that venue of where you want to have your ceremony if it's going to be at that location, as well as the reception. You also need to be mindful if these venues have an area for the bride and the groom to get ready in. So do they have bride's quarters or groom's quarters available on site? So if they do have bride's quarters and groom's quarters on site, take a look at those areas and make sure there's enough outlets and see if there's any mirrors, see if there's any places to set up any food or snacks or just enough room within those bride quarters and groom quarters for you, your bridesmaids, your groom, your groomsmen to really get ready and get primped and crimped. Just make sure that that area is going to allocate enough room for your bridal party to get ready in. Next question to ask your vendor is going to be the time blocking. The time blocking is going to be when can we come in to start setting up the area and when do we have to have everybody out, including all of our other vendors. So when can our setup start and when can our takedown end? The next question to ask is going to be, is there any curfew? When I say curfew, some cities have noise ordinances that you can't be blaring music past 10, 11 o'clock at night, or they may not have a curfew and you can party all night. Make sure that you understand any noise ordinances or any regulations that you have to follow within the town that you are getting married in. This is where it's going to be really helpful if you have a timeline, even if it's just really raw or not quite defined the way it needs to be. If you know that you want your ceremony to be at 4 p.m. and you want to be in your getaway car around 11 p.m., that's going to give you a good time block to take to your venue. The next question to ask is any regulations on decorations. If you are getting married at a historical location or something that's a little bit more uppity, something a little bit more swanky, a lot of these locations will have regulations on hanging things on the walls or attaching things to columns or weight of items on the walls. Some of these places will actually say, no, you cannot stick things onto the walls. But they will make those exceptions if there's already pre-placed hooks or ways to attach your decor. So be mindful of the decorations and the stipulations that that venue has on the items that you can place for decor. Next, especially if you're getting married in the spring months, have a plan B. If you are getting married at an outdoor venue and it rains, you may need to rent a tent. You may need to rent additional items so that you and your guests do not get caught in the rain. This can add additional charges. So if that's something that you don't want to happen, to have to rent additional items like tents, then maybe look more towards an indoor venue where you won't have to worry about those sorts of things. As you're going through your wedding venue tour with your wedding venue coordinator, make sure to write down any of these items that they are telling you you can or cannot have or isn't included. I find it best to just open up my phone and record what they're telling me so that I can revisit that information later and I can give my full attention to the venue coordinator. But just be mindful of taking in all of the information because it's going to be a lot, y'all. It's going to be a lot of information saturated all at once. So next thing to consider when you're talking to your wedding venue is restrictions. Restrictions can include open flames, bird seed, throwing flowers, doing sparklers for your exit, smoking or non-smoking. Ask and they'll let you know. Next is going to be, can we get floor plans? Can we get layouts? Can we get options for our table setups? Can we get a visual aid for how this venue can be set up? Now, if your venue does not provide tables and chairs and all of that, you really just have free reign. But if a venue provides tables and chairs, they will have venue setup examples that you can choose from or that you can customize from. So if they have this big open floor plan and you know you need 16, 18 tables, a handful of high tops, and some cake table areas, as well as your wedding party areas if you're going to be separating them from the main guest area, they will have these pre-designed versions of the floor plans that you can get printed out copies of, and if they don't give you printed out copies, they can at least email them to you. So ask for floor plans and table layouts. It's also very helpful when you're visiting your venue to take as many pictures as possible. I'm talking floor to ceiling photos. Take it all in, visualize and see how everything is in a relationship with each other. These photos will help a lot when you're planning down the road to visualize the way that these decor items are going to take up this space. Visualize the catering placement, visualize the serving stations, visualize the flow of your event. Next, we're going to talk about booze, alcohol. If you have a pre-set up bar area within this venue, awesome. Talk to this wedding venue and see if they provide bartenders, or they have a selected suggested list of bartenders, or if you can hire somebody to do your bartending for you. Now, one thing we did run into with our bartenders is because of where we were getting married, we had to select a bartender off of this specific list that they were going to provide to us. If we wanted to serve just beer and wine, we were told we can have anybody serve, because all you have to do is pick up a beer and put it on the counter and open it, put it in a koozie, whatever you want to do, glass of wine, pour it in a glass, and you're on your way. There are specific limitations in certain areas of the country where you have to have a licensed and certified bartender if you serve liquor. Next is parking. Parking is so overlooked in a lot of weddings, so do not forget to ask your venue about parking. If you have to have parking off-site, be mindful about the distance that parking is going to be off-site, and you're going to have to put a shuttle or some sort of transportation for your guests to come back to that site. Along with that, if they're going to have a parking lot area for your guests to park, are they going to provide parking attendants? Is that going to be included? Or do you need to have somebody in addition to your wedding party be a parking attendant? All right, next is going to be kind of an item that gets you a little heated, and that's service fees. Any hidden fees that you just don't know about unless you ask. You need to ask your wedding venue location, what are the service fees or potential hidden fees that we need to know about? So, parking attendants, as I mentioned earlier, security. A lot of venues will have somebody from security on staff, and that may only be like $100, $200, but that's still $100 or $200. Are there any fees for bringing your own alcohol? Are there any fees for an extra hour or two? Are there any fees for damage of the property? Do we need to get wedding insurance? A lot of wedding venues will also have a suggested list of partnered bartenders, partnered caterers, partnered hotels, that you can have a list of people that have already worked with the venue and already know how to work the flow of that venue space. Also, wedding venues will have a suggested list of hotels or accommodations for your guests. So ask your wedding venue if they have any partnered hotels or rental agencies that you could suggest to your guests. Next, I'm going to go over a few little nitpicky items just to put yourself at ease, give you a little peace of mind. If you are getting married at a ceremony location that involves chairs that are already set up, go and sit in those chairs. See how much room a body has to sit in those chairs. See if those chairs are rickety or unreliable, because you may have some bigger people in your family, taller or bigger, that you want your guests to be comfortable. Same with the reception space. Make sure that you put your body in the spot where your guests will be so that you can really take on all aspects and perspectives of your venue location. Next nitpicky item is if they are providing linens for you, and this goes to your caterer as well, if they're providing linens, ask them if those linens will be ironed. Next item to consider is going to be the sound equipment. If you're hiring a DJ or a band, traditionally they're going to bring their own sound equipment, but if you need a microphone for your ceremony, for your pastor or your officiant, or just having one up there so that you can hear what's going on if your ceremony space is large, Ask your wedding venue or even your ceremony venue if they're going to have sound equipment available. This also goes for your rehearsal dinner space. If you need to bring your own sound equipment for music while everybody's socializing or a microphone for speeches, make sure to ask these questions so you don't get caught at the last minute without them and you end up needing them. Next, ask your wedding venue if you are on a tight budget or just want to spread out the payments for your wedding venue. They will provide you with payment plan options that you can really now narrow down how you're going to pay for this location. And if you have outside contributors, knowing that information is going to be very helpful. Traditionally, if you're going to pay a deposit, it's going to be about 50% of what the total count is, and then they'll let you know 25% by this date, and then the final 25% by this date. That way you can budget and plan, and everything is paid on time, and you don't lose your reservation or any of that. So once you've toured your wedding venue and taken all your photos and really just gone really deep dive with your wedding venue coordinator, take a lap around the grounds with your fiance or whoever has come with you to look at this venue and really just start to visualize your day. Visualize the motion, visualize how everybody's going to come into the space, visualize how you're going to get ready, visualize how everything is going to go from start to finish. Now, as you're going around and looking at these multiple venues, be mindful of, okay, this place, yes, it may be cheaper, but we're going to have to rent this, this, and this, and this, which now makes it way more expensive than here, and we're going to have to actually take down and return those items because we are responsible for them. So if you're able to culminate a list of pros and cons, it will help you narrow down your wedding venue locations. So taking all of these things into account, what are some ways that you have narrowed down your wedding venue? What are some tips and tricks that you could give other brides in order to make the best selection possible for your wedding venue location? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. And until next time, I'm Jane Corley with Pic Visions, Media Arts and Photography. Make sure to like this video if you learned something new, subscribe to my channel, and ring the bell so you can be notified every time a new video is uploaded. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time.